Hello and good evening, everybody. My name is Tyler, and I will be your host today on Conversations 101. Today, my guest is a close personal friend, Ryan Slater, who also owns his small business firm called 98 Media and has done countless films and small photography projects for quite a bit of people around Cleveland. And the first question I want to come out and ask you is, tell me about your interest in the film and photo industry.
Well, my passion for film started when I was really young. It was around like 2013. I really wanted to be a part of, the community that, made something big and something iconic. I really wanted to do camera operations, cinematography, or director of photography. It's just something that really interests me. I wanted to be the guy that was behind the camera, that was filming, all the action, all the magical things that was happening that, other people would later see in the years to come.
Yeah, of course. Not a bad profession. Now, tell me a little bit about your small company, 98 Media.
So 98 Media was actually originally called 98 Films, and I am the founder. And it was in March of 2015. I recently had returned from a vacation with a few of my buddies. We went to Holiday Valley, and I wanted to, capture the highlights and the fun times that we had. So I just took my phone, just shot a few clips, a few videos of my friends, and us doing, just some skiing, snowboarding. Just went down there, and then when I got back, I, got everything off my phone, edited on my computer, and I wanted to show everyone, my friends, my families, or everyone else that was like interested. So got a YouTube account, and I was trying to figure out, what should I call myself, because I didn't want to call myself, like my channel Ryan Slater or something like that.
Right.
So I was like, okay, so what are things that are important to me? And obviously the year that I was born, has like, a passionate feeling to me, and I wanted to incorporate that in the name. So I was like, okay, so 98 is definitely going to be a part of the name. And I was like, so what am I passionate about? And then I was like, well, films, obviously. So I was like, okay, so 98 Films. So 98 Films was the name that I chose. So that all started in March of 2015, and that lasted for about a year and a half, or the name did. And then in March of 2017, 2 years later, I was like, okay, I want to do more than just films. I want to do photography as well. So I was like, okay, so how can I incorporate photography in the name? And I was like, well, I guess I could do 98 Media. So
Right.
that took about like, a few days for me to think, sleep on it.
Right.
So
Drastic change. You want to change the name of your whole small business. But yeah, I like that. Idea pervades that you don't just cover films. You give a little bit more idea of like, hey, I cover more than just films. So that way, pervades to people, they'll do whatever. No, and that's very nice. And how long you said you've been doing this? It said 2015 you started, so about, 3 years now?
3 years.
Good God. And well done, by the way.
Thank you.
Now, what projects have you done so far in 98 Media?
Well, when we first started, we did a few comedy sketches that were filmed on the iPhone 6, and those were some pretty good hits. They were short, they were funny. That's what I wanted to pursue. I wanted to pursue comedy films. A few years later, I enrolled in Tri-C in the Mars program, and that's when I started to film my short film, Memento Mori, and that was screened at the students' private screening at Tri-C and Metro, and that was a major hit. That was probably one of my favorite films that I did. And then a couple months after that, just trying to figure out ideas what my next film would be. Started to figure out what it was going to be, and we just started filming that in January.
Gotcha.
So.
And any recent projects you've started in?
Well, we started filming Night Drive, which is a film about a young adult trying to obtain his license, but his driving instructor, who also happens to be one of his friends, got fired from his driving job. So these two are just trying to figure out, how are they going to help this person get their license. So that was an idea that I had way back in August, and the original script was actually 20 to 25 pages long, and at the time I was really excited. I was really hyped to do it, and then December came along, and I was like, wow, I really don't have the resources or the money to do this. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to shorten this script. So I figured out a way to like shorten the script, but keep the vibe that I wanted it to have. So I got it down to like 7 pages. I kept the 2 main characters that I wanted, and we're just rolling with it. We started production in February, and we're hoping to be done by April. So.
Well, good. And I find that very interesting. You had to adapt to the situation as well. And that's sometimes what happens in the film industry. Sometimes it doesn't work out the right way. And it's surprising here that you guys are doing so well, especially since you had to cut it down from 25 to 7.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm glad to hear you're still doing all right with that. Now, what do you enjoy most about doing stuff in the film industry?
I love the diversity that's within the community. I love meeting new people, who have different talents than I do, and just collaborating with them and making films, whether it be like, a movie or like a photography project. I just love, collaborating with these people because, it's really fun to hang out with people who are as passionate as about the thing that you're passionate about too.
It's kind of hard to think about too when most of you tell people, oh, film industry, most people don't think, maybe small collective when in reality it's more diverse than you think. So it's always nice to hear. Now, what are some of the projects you prefer doing? I know comedies, but is there anything else you like doing? And is there some things you don't like doing?
I try to get my hands on everything, but it's, mostly comedy, drama. Sometimes I'll do action as well. And then sometimes I'll just incorporate all 3 of them into one big movie.
Gotcha. So you try to do everything, right? Like the more you do, the more experience, and that way people know, oh, well, he doesn't want to do that. So, well, that's good to hear, though. That way people know you're up for anything. Now, what is your main area of expertise with 98 Media and just film overall?
Well, since I was the founder, I was obviously going to be the director, but I was hoping to do camera operations, a little bit of set design, location scouting, and then editing. And out of those, I would say that the ones that I enjoy the most doing is camera operations, being behind the camera, and then editing, having that free creative will that you have when you have all the shots, and you're just putting all that together to make something magical.
Nice. So kind of a jack of all trades, you could say, is what you like being. Well, nice to hear. I'm a big editing person myself. It's always nice to see others that have a similar taste in me.
Right.
Now, I know you mentioned earlier that you went from 25 pages to 7 pages in your script. For these ideas in your projects, how long do these processes of, for example, how long did coming up with Night Drive, how long did that take for you?
The original idea came to me when I was filming a school project from my friend who goes to a high school called CBCA, and it's down in Cuyahoga Falls. Oh, and he wanted me to film his project for him, and I was like, okay, sure. So I went down there, we filmed together, and as we were filming, I just had this like idea rolling in my head. I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if there was this guy who wanted to drive, but didn't have the skills to do it. And I was like, oh, that would be actually a really fun idea. So I went back home, and it was about 2 or 3 months later when I was like, okay, I think I'm going to do this. So it was like August, and it's been, for the pre-production stage, it was in from August all the way to January. And then there was a gap like in December and January where I was like, oh, well, maybe I should, lessen the pace of the scripts, because it was, well, how I see it, a page in the script is going to be like 1 minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, and I just added all that up, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to like produce something like this.
You had to think to yourself, okay, I'm limited. How can I bring this down without taking too much away from the story?
Exactly.
So you could say almost months this took you, right? Just kind of going back and forth, some ideas not settling. And that's understandable too. Sometimes things change, and to make a decent product that you like, it takes time. But it's not necessarily a bad thing either, so always nice to hear. Now, any areas of film you'd like to do besides working behind the camera and just editing? Anything else that really piques your interest?
Set design is one of them. I like being creative. Location scouting is one thing. Traveling to different places. Trying to find an area to film, either locally or out of state. Just to name a few.
Gotcha. But you mainly want to be behind the camera.
Yeah,
editing,
mainly
right?
behind the camera.
It's your passion. You just want to follow it.
Mhm.
That's understandable. Everyone's got their main thing to do. And what do you see in your future with the film industry and with 98 Media?
I'm hoping to keep 98 Media as a small business option, and then I'm hoping to maybe in the next 3 to 4 years move down to Atlanta, since I've heard, that it's basically the new Hollywood these days.
That's what I'm hearing as well.
I'm hoping to move down there. My dream job is working with Marvel in their films, so I'm hoping
Right.
to find an opportunity to work with them.
Yeah. And why do you want to work with Marvel in particular, and not, Lucasfilm or DC Comics or anyone else? What sets Marvel apart?
Growing up, I was more of a Marvel kid. I remember reading my first Spider-Man comic, my first Incredible Hulk comic, Thor, Ant-Man, you name it. I would go to the bookstore, and I would always go to the comic book section, and I wouldn't pick up like a DC comic. I would always pick up a Marvel comic. That's what I grew up on. Not to say that I don't like DC comics or DC films, but growing up, it's always been a dream job of mine, just to work with the people who brought me to this point.
Right. You want to work with the film company who pretty much made your childhood, right?
Yeah.
Now, of all the, just a fun question, favorite Marvel film?
I'd probably have to say, oh wow,
Right, of the whole plethora, right?
right. There's just so many. I mean, all of them are like really good.
But if you had to pick one.
If I had to pick one, I'd probably have to go with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Volume 2.
Yeah.
For me, it's the music really behind that. But all right. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and Ryan, thank you again for coming out of the
Thank
show.
you for having me.
It's been a pleasure. And everybody, thank you for tuning into Conversations 101. We'll see you next time. Everybody have a great evening.